Hello and welcome to another episode of R&D Check-In, today with Markéta Willis. Hey.
Hello.
Software engineer and a content creator, helping people navigate through the world of tech.
Yes.
Hey and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So you made a leap into engineering back in 2020 or 2021?
Yes, it was about 6 years ago. 2019, 2020 was when I switched careers into IT.
So from what role before and why did you do that?
I switched careers in 2020. My original field was languages. I was supposed to become a teacher of English and Russian. However, I never found that fulfilling. I still like teaching and I still do it in my free time. But around 2019, I found out that there are some courses about programming. I became really excited and I made the transition in 2020.
And I think actually when you mentioned that you were supposed to be a teacher and you still teach sort of on the side, maybe that's where your presence, let's say online presence and the urge to kind of pass on your experience to others, maybe that's where it comes from?
It's possible. Partially it might be because I like teaching. Partially it's once I started doing it, the people in the community, it resonates with a lot of people what I spoke about, what it is like to transition into IT, that it is more challenging emotionally, mentally and physically to do it than many people make it seem. And the reaction of people made me more motivated to look into it and to start sharing more.
And was it mainly, let's say, Instagram and LinkedIn where you started to be active, and I think those are where you're still active?
Yes. LinkedIn is what I would say for any professional and non-negotiable to be online present on LinkedIn in some form. Instagram was something that I just started to do because it's the platform that I was already on. So when I was in between jobs in 2021, I decided to start sharing what I already mentioned. What I realized that the journey of switching into IT was harder than I expected. Mentally, the focus, the complete switch of fields, how people communicate in IT is completely different to many other fields, be it teaching, academia, or other corporate jobs. And when I started sharing about that, it was on LinkedIn and many people started following me there.
Well, it resonated a lot because obviously whenever somebody new joins in the company, I check their profiles, and we don't have many people who were community active before, let's say, joining Mews, because thanks to the fact that we have a proper team, many become here, but not many are from in the time before. But can you tell me, has there been a change in 2020 was a different time. So I wonder if there is any change in the industry, in the community back then and now from what's happening online, what's happening in the community?
Absolutely. It's the change in the last 5 years has been massive in all aspects in all industries, thanks to AI, in IT specifically as well. And when I look specifically into how people present themselves online, in 2020, it was paramount for people who were new in the field, for juniors who were coming in and wanted to get noticed, wanting to prove that they are worth hiring, that it is more than just they know some coding languages, but they are also interesting as people, they are excited, they are good potential coworkers. Whereas in 2020, around that time, for senior developers, it wasn't necessary to be present online at all, I would say. As soon as you mentioned to anyone that you were open to switch careers or to look at a new challenge, immediately you had offers on the table. That's not the case nowadays. I would say it is important for anyone to start thinking about what they put online, how they present themselves, and think about it strategically. Because with AI, it became very accessible and much cheaper for companies to get code written, whether it's AI itself or someone guiding, navigating the AI tools. So if someone says, oh, I am a good software engineer, I know the hard skill really well, but I don't want to be, presenting myself online, begging for people to hire me or gathering followers. But if someone says, oh, I'm a good engineer, I just write code and this is all I need to get hired, it is not the case anymore. Companies need more, and they need the people to prove they offer more than just the hard skill, that there is more soft skill, communication skill, that they don't have to worry to send the engineer to speak to a client or speak publicly.
Well, I think it's a common notion. It's becoming that the difference between a junior and senior software engineer is not so much in the hard skills, but it's a lot about the soft skills, where you persuasive, you make people do what you want to do, because that's the hard part. But is it the AI time that made you think about it more strategically, or when did it become, I guess you start simply because you want to tell something to the world, but at some point I think you must have gotten a little more strategic, because looking at your present, I can see that there is some thought behind it.
I would say once I started getting people asking more about advice, I realized it's not just about what I think is interesting, but also what the people want to see. And it's twofolded. One thing is what my followers want to see and what they want to know about the field and how they want me to help them navigate. The other thing is what the companies want to see from people. So for me, on Instagram, I share more with my followers. On LinkedIn, I try to be more strategic about how I present myself to potential, not even employers, but anyone I want to work with.
But I guess the more spicy you get, the more kind of engagement it gets, right?
Yes, the more hot takes you post, the more controversial you are, the more engagement there is. I would be careful though, because at the end of the day, as you said, you look up everyone who applies here, anyone who comes here, and any company does that, because whoever comes on board, they start representing the company. And any clients, they will also see, oh, such and such Markéta works at Mews, and I want to become,
For example, get the because now even the companies do some due diligence of the people that work there. So they're like, okay, do we want to, let's say, invest in that company, or do we want to get their product?
So anyone who wants to work with Mews, they might not necessarily try to look me specifically up, but something might pop at them if I write something very controversial, and that would make them pause. If Mews hires a person who shares these opinions, is that someone I want to work with? So that's why I would say it's good to be strategic in what you share and maybe be bold to talk about topics that not everyone talks about, but also think, are you becoming a liability to the company? What's your goal? Is your goal to become known for something, to increase your reputation, to be known as a good professional, or is your goal just to get the most engagement?
Yeah, and I think it works also the other way around, because companies should want people active on LinkedIn, because very often companies are worried, oh, this person is active on LinkedIn, they probably want to leave Mews or something. But I take it from the other side. I take it that these people can be really a great asset to the company, because then you said that they will check it, so they can actually see, okay, this person works there. Okay, I see the transparency. I see that they are not, for example, worried of sharing something, but then there is this burning bridges. So sometimes you can see that on LinkedIn somebody leaves, and you can see that, okay, they close the doors.
That's how I would sum it up as what you said. It's about being strategic, about thinking, I'm going to post online, but before just posting mindlessly about something to get some likes and comments, it's important to first think who I want to present myself as. It's important for me to be seen and perceived as professional engineer who focuses on this niche, as opposed to just have the most followers.
Yeah, and you mentioned, so are you thinking about the content that you put on Instagram and LinkedIn? So do you know, okay, this is Instagram, this will be different to my LinkedIn post, actually?
I don't do it as strategically. I think it's more intuitive. On LinkedIn, people are more willing to read longer posts. They're more in the field already. Whereas on Instagram, it's much wider audience and it's much shorter content. It's more little sparks of information, and you hope that someone relates to it or resonates. Whereas on LinkedIn, you can actually take your time to curate an opinion and write an article or share something.
So when can we expect Markéta Willis on TikTok?
I don't think that's a platform I want to go on. I would say if anyone wants to start posting, firstly, decide what you want your reputation to be, what you want to share. Then LinkedIn is a non-negotiable. And if you want to share somewhere else, then go on a platform that's closest to you, that you like spending time on. It's not necessary to go on Facebook or Instagram or Threads or X just because others are there.
Yeah, makes sense. And how do you keep it consistent? Because sometimes this is something that people struggle with. They post once and then they're like, okay, I don't know what to post next. How do you keep it consistent?
I will double back on what I said. If you take your time first to create a strategy of who you are, what you are passionate about, what you want to share, who you want to work with, the posting flows from that. It's not, oh, I just sit and I'll post and I don't know what about. But if you do the deep work, the digging, and I would encourage people to do it without AI, just literally sit down in a coffee shop or at home with a cup of tea, and for a good half an hour, or even longer, keep thinking about what I've done, what I'm really good at, what I enjoy doing, what I overcame, what problems I solve. Then you can distill down what you want to post about.
I think this is all the digital footprint. This is something we talked about when we were preparing for this, that, for example, for me, how I approach social media or LinkedIn, because that's basically the only social media, it's my almost like journal of what I've done and people I've worked with. So that once somebody will check, and maybe somebody will run an agent in the future and will be like, okay, give me a summary of this person. They'll have enough information to create like a plastic picture of me and my work. That's why I'm also very I think about what I want to post. So I think the digital footprint that people forget, that, once somebody will be looking for them, you want to own the narrative. You want to be the one that writes the message.
This is so good what you're saying. This is brilliant, because some people say, oh, I don't need a personal brand. Oh, I don't need to be online. Oh, whenever someone wants to work with me, they'll find me. Or if I speak to them, they'll know who I am. But personal brand is not something you create. Personal brand is just reputation. What comes up when people hear your name, or if they run an agent on you, if they say, oh, this person approached me, or I saw them talking at the meetup, tell me who they are. And what can happen, there are three scenarios. Either they will nothing comes up, so you're a blank slate, which is not ideal, or something that you didn't even think that you had posted some years ago will come up, and it will be like a mark on you, and you will be known for this, and you will not even know that this is your reputation. And that's the third scenario. What you should strive for is, as you said, choosing how you want to be seen, what picture you want to be painted as by the agent or anyone. If your name comes up in a room, what people picture, what comes up.
Well, if you type in Jan Meissner, you'll find a New York photographer of dogs. It's not me, by the way.
It is tricky to, if you have a very common name, but some people put their Boy Scout nicknames or other nicknames as middle names to differentiate themselves.
Makes sense. But you touched upon meetups, because personal brand is not just online. It's not just LinkedIn, and you are speaking at conferences and meetups. And
yes.
I know this is not your kind of event of choice that you would do normally in your free time. How did you come about, and how does it make you feel being on stage?
It is out of my comfort zone. And I would say speaking on stage, going on a conference or meetup, podcast, is outside of everyone's comfort zone. I know very few people, I can't even think of anyone who would think, oh, that's a great thing I want to do on a weekend or weekday, just go on a stage in front of 20 or 200 or 2,000 people and just put myself out there and speak about some topic. What I would say is, once you start thinking about how you present yourself strategically, it comes up with also thinking that it is not about what you post online, but generally how you carry yourself also in person. And there are skills that you should learn and you should practice. And speaking publicly is one of those skills. And you cannot practice it in any other way than just going on a meetup, conference, podcast, having an interview.
Yeah, and people think that, stand-up comedians or TEDx speakers are just good at it. Well, they trained maybe 1,000 times. But another perception that there is that you can only go on stage when you have 20 years of experience and you have done it all and people can learn about it. What would you say to that?
I will answer to both these questions or topics you mentioned. One thing is what I also thought, some people are just natural at it. Some people have great charisma. Some people just are so funny and engaging naturally. And I am not that. I don't like to be center of attention, so it is not for me. That is a complete lie. Yes, someone may be engaging, but if you go on stage, if you prepare a talk or a lecture, and you want to be engaging for 200 or multiple people, you need to practice that. And everyone who's on stage knows that there is a lot of preparation of the topic, rewriting the slides, practicing them, saying it out loud in front of smaller audiences or friends, then realizing that something doesn't work, shifting it again over and over and over again until they come up on stage and they seem completely natural, like it is just, it's just them. They just, off the top of their head, they came up with this topic. But there is a lot more behind it. There is analysis of the topic, deciding that it is for certain audience, right? If you have technical people, you present it in one way. If you have people who are non-technical, you have to do the analysis in a different way. And the second thing you mentioned is, I need to have 20 years of experience. It is rarely the smartest person in the room, the most knowledgeable and experienced, who is on the stage. It is people who understand that I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to practice this skill of public speaking, of presentation. I'm going to take my time to choose a topic, present it to people, practice it, do dry runs, and then come up there. And
that's
what I would say.
It makes sense, because now maybe we didn't do a great commercial for people speaking, because there is a lot of work behind it. But I think the rewards are high, because first you learn a new skill, because that can be not used only on stage. That can be used on an internal meeting, where in a company like Mews there can be 1,300 plus people.
Absolutely.
But second, I think the notion that you contribute to the community, because I feel like we all have consumed somebody else's content. And I think, it's great when we can contribute ourselves as well. And I think when you spoke about dry runs, I believe you attended 2 trainings here at Mews, right? And I think you knowing you a little bit, you can be very skeptical about trainings that you have to attend. But I was happy to hear when you said, okay, this actually made me a better speaker, or it made me a better, maybe an engineer even.
Having someone teach you how to speak publicly, I would say is invaluable, and everyone should go for it. Many companies have some learning budget, so choosing to spend it on a mentor or speaking course or someone who teach you how to present, I think is amazing, even for software engineers who oftentimes forget about it. And specifically in Mews, yes, I have attended 2 different trainings. Both of them were brilliant, and both of them were very eye-opening in realizing that public speaking is so paramount to anyone who is nowadays in the professional world. Being able to communicate your ideas clearly, present your ideas, be engaging, negotiate really as well, because as an engineer, you need to be able to justify why you go with certain decisions over others. Yes, you have AI to aid you in many things, but at the end of the day, there is some kind of ownership you have as an engineer, and being able to analyze it, communicate it to different audiences is very important.
There is many videos and LinkedIn posts, 10 advice how to be better at something. What would be the one advice you would give to people who would like to start building their personal brand? Or maybe they don't even know they want to start that, but should.
I would start firstly with, as I already mentioned, don't go on LinkedIn straight away. Take some time away from the screens and think about yourself, your experience, what you've done, and how you want to present yourself. If someone invited you to a podcast and they were to ask, how should I introduce you? What should I say about you? What would you want them to, what would you want to be introduced as? What would you want to be known as? Which skills you are really proud of and what you want to put forward. And then you can decide to post about it, write articles, share anything that you find interesting. And I don't think that people should worry about, oh, but it's already out there. Someone's written about it already, and anyone can Google it. Of course, anyone can Google it. There is no reason, there is no information that one single person has that is absolutely brand new. But it is the human touch, it is your opinion, it is your perspective, it is your experience that you are adding to that technical fact or something that you want to share about. So don't worry about not being completely original, because no one is, but be proud of the fact that it is coming from you specifically.
But I think there is also recency bias, because something that was posted recently, people tend to go, okay, that makes more sense than if you posted 3 years ago and think, okay, this topic I already checked out, I don't have to speak about it again. But also one thing that you're very, I would say, passionate about, or, very vocal about is, support, or almost being a cheerleader for women in tech, in public speaking, or in being active. Is that still needed, or is it getting better, do you feel?
Of course it's needed. I would say any voice needs to be heard in the community. And it is sadly very hard for, if I speak to anyone who is organizing an event, as you say, invite people to podcast, anything public, anything where there is exposure, or any expert on a topic that should be invited, women don't come forward, or they turn these opportunities down. Oftentimes the reason is what we spoke about. They feel like, pardon me. Oftentimes the reason is what we already mentioned. They feel like they need to be the smartest person in the room. They need to have the most experience, and if anyone at any point comes with a question, they need to be able to answer the question perfectly, which comes hand in hand with feeling inadequate, as imposter. But I would, especially for this reason, encourage women to go for it, because this is great tool, great way to overcome these feelings, because many women are brilliant, and it really is a shame that they are not being heard and seen.
Nice. Well, thank you, Markéta, for joining us. And for those who don't follow you yet, can you share your handles?
Absolutely. I'm Markéta_Willis at Instagram, and Markéta Willis on LinkedIn.
Nice. So if you are in Mews, you can always Slack me or Markéta. Maybe for some time you won't be responding on Slack. But if you are not in Mews, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. I respond. Do you respond?
Yes.
Nice.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.